Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great today. So I have a few quick updates to share with us, especially with respect to everything that's happened in the last week or more. So I made a post over the weekend and I talked about Biden transferring the power of the president to Kamala Harris, and history was made, because Kamala suddenly became the first female president of the USA only for a very short time, right? But when I made that post, I posted the actual letter that he posted. I said to people, please read this letter. There was a reason why I wanted people to read, because I needed someone to see the lines, the words that were used in that letter, to see how dire the situation actually is. But I know that many people didn't understand. So I have one or two video clips to share with you, so you can clearly understand where things are with respect to Biden, Kamala Harris, and with respect to you as a person watching this show right now. Now, I'm going to play you a clip from CNN. Of all networks, CNN. Let me give you an idea of how CNN broke down Biden's first physical since becoming president.
Some more breaking news to report this Friday night, this time on the health of President Biden, who received a physical exam today, his first since taking office as the oldest first-term president in history. I want to talk about the results with Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who's also author of the fascinating new book, World War C, Lessons from COVID-19 Pandemic and How to Prepare for the Next One. So Sanjay, what can you tell us about the results of this physical?
Well, we had some idea of some of the president's past medical history. We also know that he's the oldest first-term president. So putting those two things together, there were specific things that I think they were sort of targeting. We know that he has this history of reflux, for example.
So both of them admitted that this is the oldest first-term president in American history. Sanjay Gupta's analysis of Biden's first physical is in two phases. The first phase is the things they were targeting, and the second phase is what they finally found out. And I'm going to share all of that. So the things they were targeting, he mentioned he has this history of reflux. So I want to help you understand what reflux really is. Reflux is a digestive disease in which stomach acid or bile irritates the food pipe lining, the lining in the food pipe. This is a chronic disease that occurs when stomach acid or bile flows into the food pipe and irritates the lining. Acid reflux and heartburn more than twice a week may indicate GERD, G-E-R-D. Symptoms include burning pain in the chest that usually occurs after eating and worsens when lying down, typical old man disease. Relief from lifestyle changes and over-the-counter medication is usually temporary. Stronger medication may be required. Stronger. It is not just some type of small relief over the counter. No, that's why the guy had to go there. So let's listen to what Sanjay said after that. He has a history of reflux. I just wanted you to understand what reflux is all about.
They were focused on the fact that his gait, his walking, Anderson, seems to have changed a bit. They described it as being less fluid, stiffer gait. We also know he takes this medication for his cholesterol, and he had a colonoscopy. So those were sort of the major things that came out of that.
They were focused on the fact that his gait, his manner of walking, his stepping, that the gait was now less fluid. He now had stiffer gait, meaning that his walk is not going to be as wobbly as supposed to be for someone who is suffering from stuff like that. So his gait had become stiffer, okay? So they focused on that. And now they said that he also had colonoscopy. If you watch the breaking news when that news broke, the thing that kept jumping up in front of everyone on the screen was colonoscopy, colonoscopy. Now, let's get to understand what is this colonoscopy that Biden went through when he went to the hospital because of the reflux situation that he is having. Colonoscopy or coloscopy is the endoscopic examination of the large bowel and the distal part of the small bowel with a CCD camera or a fiber optic camera on a flexible tube passed through the anus. So this tube that they are discussing here was passed through the anus of the president to go and examine the reflux situation in his foot tube. It's a very dangerous situation. It's usually not easy to cure. It takes a whole lot to correct this. Imagine passing such a tube through the anus of a man that is almost 80 years old. The kind of pain he would go through. That's why he was sedated. They had to sedate him. They had to knock him out completely to be able to do that. But was that the only thing that happened that day? Let's go to the next phase of Sanjay's breakdown of his physicals, which is findings. Let's see what they found out.
There were a few findings. His reflux is still persistent, which is why they think he's been coughing a lot. You may hear him clearing his throat a lot during speeches.
That same reflux for which he had a colonoscopy is still persisting. And they said this is the reason why you hear him cough a lot when he's having speeches. He coughs a lot. This is something that causes such a burning sensation after eating and then when trying to lie down. Can you imagine what this old man is going through? You only need to be a human being to feel pity for this man. Forget about politics right now, guys. Forget politics. I'm serious about this. Forget politics. I was feeling so genuinely concerned for Joe. And I can imagine what this man is going through. And the pain I feel is, why would these guys behind the curtains, why would they want to put this guy through this just to make a point? Just to make a point to the rest of the world. Why? This guy needs to quietly go and rest. Why put him through this? We knew this from day one, from the get-go, that this guy was not so fit. And the doctors are there screaming, his feet, his feet, his feet. And now the reflux is persisting. You heard from the doctor himself, not from me. Let's go forward.
As far as his gait being changed, they think he's developed some arthritis in his lower back.
As far as his gait being changed, they think he's developed some arthritis in his lower back. Together with the reflux that is persisting. Guys, we're talking after leaving the hospital. These were the things he left the hospital with. Not cured. The reflux, which I read for you already, is persisting. Now arthritis in his lower back, persisting. All of this, none of them cured. The President of the United States of America doing the toughest job, arguably the toughest job on earth today. Let's move forward.
But the other big things, his atrial fibrillation appears stable. He has a history of having his brain surgery, having aneurysms operated back in the late 80s. That appears to have not changed. And then again, this colonoscopy for which he was sedated, had a colonoscopy and also had an endoscopy as well. So those are the major things that they sort of put into the report, Anderson.
He has a history of brain surgery and his aneurysms operated on in the past. Brain surgery. What is aneurysms? Aneurysm is a ballooning and weakened area in an artery. Aneurysm often occur in the aorta, brain, back of the knee, intestine, or spleen. A ruptured aneurysm can result in internal bleeding and stroke. It can sometimes be fatal. Aneurysms often have no symptoms until they rupture. Brain surgery and the aneurysm, the vein, that if it bursts, dementia will set in. You will not be able to put two and two together again. You will not be able to connect two dots again. That's what they said is also persisting in this man. And so he also had an endoscopy. You saw when he did his hand like this on her head. So it wasn't only the colonoscopy that he had where they had to pass that tube through his anus. They also passed a tube into his brain to check the aneurysm situation. That aneurysm situation had to be checked. Can you imagine what this guy went through? Doesn't that explain why they had to sedate him? For crying out loud, he's almost 80. And this is happening at a time that the relationship between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris couldn't get any worse.
The CNN exclusive. Insiders reveal for the first time tension and frustration behind the scenes between Vice President Kamala Harris and the White House. The accounts come from nearly 3 dozen current and former Harris aides, administration officials, Democratic operatives, donors, and outside advisors who spoke to CNN about the complex reality inside the White House. On one side, members of Harris's inner circle who believe she's being sidelined and set up to fail instead of being positioned to be a future president. One former high-level Harris aide put it this way, we put this up on screen, they're consistently sending her out there on losing issues in the wrong situations for her skill set. CNN has also learned Harris has told confidants she feels constrained in what she's able to do.
So Harris's insiders, Harris's staffers, Harris's associates believe that she is being sidelined and set up to fail instead of being prepared to become the next president, the future president. She's expecting, maybe as they promised her, that by now they should be grooming me to take over from Biden, because it's clear to even an unborn child that Biden may not finish his term in office as the president of the United States of America. This first term, he may not finish it. The guy is sick. Look at all the physical. Look at all the breakdown. These are not things that he was suffering from. These are things that he is still currently suffering from. So everyone knows that there's a problem in the camp of the Democrats, and this is why they are failing and losing left, right, and center all over the United States of America. So the fear is real amongst the Democrats. And so the rift has grown so wide between Biden and Kamala Harris. And Kamala's people are saying, no, what we are saying is that these guys are intentionally setting her up to fail, rather than maybe keeping to their promise of preparing and grooming her to become a future president. But she didn't know that she was only being used to bring other people to become that president. So why did Biden transfer power over to Harris? Just to give people the impression that, come on, if I could do this, why do you still say that there's a rift between us? But it's still the same game of the guys behind the curtains. They are the people that are doing all these things. They are. Because there's a problem, and let me explain to you what is going to happen very soon. There are rumors, and that you can see this also from a CNN, the same CNN report. There are rumors actually that they are trying to remove Kamala Harris and send her to the Supreme Court so that Biden can replace with someone else. Listen to me very clearly. In the video I made to this effect in 2020, I told you that the plan was to give the power to Kamala Harris, and then Kamala will pick a vice president in either Michelle Obama or Clinton, Hillary Clinton. But now they are trying to make it faster because there is no time. And the easiest way to do it is they have played the game on Kamala. And Kamala is losing her mind over that, because everything that is happening to Kamala is planned to fail according to her workers and the people who work with her. And I agree with them. It's an intentional thing so that nobody will want to have her around the corridors of power at all. That's why she has the worst approval rating that any vice president in American history has ever had. And I'm coming to that later. So what is happening is that if they move Kamala to the Supreme Court, Biden will then appoint either Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama. Those two names have started popping up again. So imagine that they take Hillary Clinton and make her vice president. Like I've always said when I made that other video in 2020, whoever it is that Biden picks becomes the president. If it is Hillary Clinton, she is going to be the authentic president of the US. And by the time they now know that Clinton has become the vice president, they will now make Biden's health condition clear to the world, probably make him go to the hospital and never return again. Clinton will then take over and become the substantive president. And when she becomes the substantive president, she will then bring on someone like John Kerry or one of those the insiders and make the person a vice president. And that will be how Kamala has been used to pave way for the real people they actually wanted to make president from day one. The original plan was never for Biden and Harris to occupy that position. So that's the power play that is going on right now. They want to go back to their original plan because Biden and Harris were not the original plan. They were just used. And now it's becoming evident because everything we're seeing today, we knew before this time. Who didn't know that Biden was sick? We knew that. Today he has an approval rating of 38, the worst that anyone could have at this time in his presidency. And guess what? Dick Cheney, who was the vice president under George W. Bush Jr., was the worst and the most hated and the most unpopular vice president in American history. After 8 years, Dick Cheney left power with an approval rating of 30%. Guess what? Less than 1 year in, Kamala Harris is 2 points less than what Dick Cheney left power with. The most unpopular vice president in American history. So Kamala Harris is less popular than Dick Cheney. Less than 1 year into her office? Jesus Christ. It tells you a lot about what is going on in the Democratic Party. There's a lot happening over there. She's not happy. People who work with her are not happy. Many of them are even throwing in the towel and leaving her alone. You can go look this up. I don't have to show you that here. You can check it out. So this is what is happening in the United States of America. And like I said, politics aside, I think they need to cut the joke and just let this man go get his rest already. Enough is enough. I love you with all my heart. And we're going to keep on praying that the Lord will see us through every situation that we find ourselves in. Blessings. Bye-bye.